Hey everyone, welcome to Tight on the Tide. I'm your host, Wayne Mason. What if Bear Bryant's six national championship teams had a playoff and the winner from that bracket met up with the winner of Nick Saban's six national championship teams? What would that look like? Well, it's something that crossed my mind a little while ago when I started this YouTube channel. I thought, well, that might be something really fun to look at. It's something I've thought about before, but honestly, to pit the two together, we would have to give the 1960s and 70s teams a little bit more of an advantage than what they had back then. I mean, granted, these teams were amazing, but what if across the board, every team had the same advantage with workouts, everything? If everything was the same across the board from the 1961 team through the 2020 team, what if, with all the stats that we have available, that we created a scenario where we take the bracket from the Bryant era, the bracket from the Saban era, and the winner of those two meet for a clash of the Titans, I guess you would say? Well, I decided to take that on. And it ended up being a little bit more, honestly, than I was probably prepared for. And the learning curve has been huge in putting this thing together. But that's what I did. And since we're getting into spring practices and whatnot, we're going to get into the summer. So what I'm looking at is, honestly, it's about a 12 video series here where I'm going to be comparing the two and having the playoff bracket, and then they meet at the end to see, who is the greatest Alabama national title team of all time. Now, granted, we won't have the 1920s or the 92 Gene Stallings era teams in there. This is purely Bear Bryant versus Nick Saban, the two greatest coaches of all time, honestly, in my mind. What if? What if across the board everything was level and they could meet up? What might happen? And that's exactly what this is. Obviously, this is not something to carve in stone. It's all subjective and it's for fun. So, that being said, I hope that you enjoy it. I've enjoyed making it, even though, like I said, the learning curve has been quite huge. So, I present to you the Bear Bryant versus Nick Saban greatest of all time. Enjoy. You hear the crowd. You can feel the march of pads. Two Alabama teams, same coach, different moments in time. Their goals? Dominance. On one side, we have the 1961 Crimson Tide, Bear Bryant's first national champion at Alabama, a team that dominated its competition like a steel trap. On the other, the 1973 Crimson Tide, a modern wishbone juggernaut that racked up points like they were counting change. Both Bear Bryant teams, both championship caliber. Today we ask, who wins in a head-to-head era matchup? It's time for round one of the Bryant bracket, 1961 versus 1973.
You're not ordinary. You're not average. You're something special. We got class, we're gonna find it out. We got class, and I know we got it.
Okay, before we dive in, let's define our framework. Both teams get a neutral field, modern strength and conditioning, so era physical differences are normalized, modern rules, and 4 weeks of prep before the game. We're going to break this down by team identity, offense and defensive strength, key players and stats, a simulated game narrative, and then the verdict. Let's begin with 1961. The 1961 Alabama Crimson Tide went 11-0 under Bear Bryant, undefeated and national champions. They averaged 28.7 points per game, a strong offensive showing for that era, while allowing only 2.2 points per game on defense. That's right, their opponents scored 22 points all season. This was a team grounded in discipline. Offensively, Alabama rushed at a blazing clip with over 47 rushing attempts per game and averaged 200.5 rushing yards per game. Their passing was efficient, not flashy, roughly 126.5 yards per game through the air. But what made this team special wasn't raw yardage. It was efficiency and control. Quarterback Pat Trammell was the engine of this offense, completing 75 of 133 passes for 1,035 yards and 8 touchdowns during the 1961 season, while making plays with his legs as well. Coach Bryant once said of Trammell, "All he can do is beat you." That quote tells you everything you need to know about the mentality of this team. Relentless, focused, execution first. Their defense was historically stifling, ranked number 1 in points allowed, and featured Leroy Jordan, a foundational linebacker leader who dominated the middle of the field. And the team capped the season with a 10-3 Sugar Bowl victory over Arkansas, a game defined by tough defense and physical football. This group wasn't about explosive offense. They were about controlling every possession, grinding down the clock, and beating teams in the trenches. Now let's turn to the 1973 Alabama Crimson Tide, another Bear Bryant national champion, finishing 11-1, winning the SEC and dominating most of their competition. One glance at their numbers and you know this is a different animal. They scored 41.3 points per game, while allowing only 8.1 points per game. That point differential is explosive, even by modern standards. Offensively, the Tide was a rushing machine. They averaged 366 rushing yards per game. Passing was limited, but efficient when needed, around 114.6 yards per game through the air. Running backs like Randy Billingsley provided big playability, averaging 6.5 yards per carry. Their rushing dominance fueled blowouts, including a 77-6 win over Virginia Tech, and helped them sustain drives, control tempo, and wear down defenses. Defensively, they were just as impressive. They shut down opponents with physical front seven and tactical discipline, allowing under 9 points per game. This 1973 team also had elite defenders like Woodrow Lowe, a future college football Hall of Fame linebacker who racked up tackles and set the tone on defense. Even though they lost the Sugar Bowl 24-23 to Notre Dame, that final result doesn't diminish the body of work. Dominant offensive production, elite defense, and big wins during the regular season made this a classic Bryant title team. Now, let's stack these down the line. Offensively, 1961, prototypical grinded-out offense, approximately 200 yards rushing per game, smart passing, and clock control. 1973, explosive ground game, approximately 366 rushing yards per game, and multi-dimensional option attack. The edge, 1973. You had more production, more explosiveness. Defensively, 1961 allowed just 2.2 points per game, historically elite. 1973, still dominant, approximately 8.1 points allowed per game, but not as stingy. Edge, 1961 for pure defensive dominance. The scheme and identity. 1961 was about efficiency and control. Chew the clock, win physical battles. 1973 was about overwhelming offense, tempo control through production, and tough defense. This is basically control versus explosion. Okay, time for the game. Imagine it now. First quarter. 1973 wins the toss and elects to receive. They come out throwing a few misdirection runs, then hammer it up the middle for chunk gains. This opening drive chews 8 minutes off the clock and results in a touchdown. 7-0, 1973. 1961 responds methodically. They grind 3 and out but flip field position with a punt pinned deep. Then, on 2nd and short, Trammell finds a seam with a quarterback run that picks up a first down. A couple of short runs later, they're in the red zone, but have to settle for a field goal. The first quarter ends 7-3, 1973. Second quarter. 1973's rushing attack keeps coming. 3 straight 6+ yard carries gets the team downfield, finally resulting in a touchdown. 1973 is up 14-3, but 1961 keeps with clock control, mixing runs and short throws, and scores another field goal, making it 14-6 at the half. 1973 still leading, but 1961 is in striking distance. Starting off the second half, both defenses adjust. 1973 controls the clock again with the power run game and punches it in from close range, making it 21-6. 1961 stays patient, but only manages another long, productive drive, ending in yet another field goal, making it 21-9. We move to the fourth quarter. 1961's defense, which is historically suffocating, forces a turnover deep in 1973's own territory. The shortened field leads to a touchdown, cutting the lead to 21-17. But with under 4 minutes to go, 1973 cracks off a long run to set up a short touchdown punch, making it 28-17 as time expires. 1973 wins the simulated matchup, 28-17. They advance to the semifinal round where they're going to face the winner of round 1, game 2. Okay, now the verdict. 1961's defense is legendary, allowing barely any points all season. 1973's offense was historically dominant. They had an explosive ground game, huge point totals. Against a tough defense, 1973's offense still produces scoring drives. In our simulated matchup, that offensive depth and ability to sustain drives becomes the difference. So, in Bryant Bracket Round 1, Game 1, 1973, Alabama moves on. Not because 1961 was weak, far from it, but because 1973's balanced explosion edges out 1961's methodical approach. Thank you so much for watching. If you wouldn't mind to hit that like button and subscribe, it would mean so much. I am so appreciative of all of you and for watching. And if you leave a comment below, who is your favorite national title team from Alabama of all time and why? And any ideas for upcoming videos that you might have, hey, I'm up for just about any ideas that I can come up with, and you can help with that. So, again, thank you so much, and as always, roll Tide.